I got tired of HOA Karen's family using my pool for free. So I sprinkled powder. And trust me, I didn't plan it. I didn't wake up that morning thinking I'd snap. I didn't want drama, or chaos, or screaming adults scratching their skin like crazy. But when Karen's whole clan barged into my backyard again, laughing, splashing, drinking cheap wine like they owned the place, something inside me finally cracked. I whispered to myself, enough. And when I grabbed that red bucket, the one Karen always mocked me for keeping behind the shed, everything changed. Because the moment that powder hit the water, their faces, their screams, their red spots, I knew there was no turning back. And the craziest part is, Karen still has no idea what I really did. Hey guys, welcome back to HOA Stories. My name's Matt. I live in a quiet cul-de-sac in northern Arizona, and I work from home building furniture and minding my own damn business. But the HOA in my neighborhood, they don't like people like me. People who don't bow to their little rules. People who don't kiss their ring. People who fix their own homes without pre-approval forms and color charts. If you hate HOAs too, hit that subscribe button. And if you really hate HOAs, type BOOHOA in the comments right now. I want to see how many of us are done with their nonsense. Also share this story with that one friend who got bullied by an HOA. We all got at least one. Alright, let me take you back to the day everything started. So it all started on a Monday, the one day I actually liked. Mondays were quiet for me. The neighborhood worked 9 to 5. Kids were gone. Dogs stayed inside. And my backyard pool, my pride and joy, was finally peaceful again. I remember stepping outside that morning, coffee in hand, warm breeze moving slow across the surface of the water. And I thought, damn, today feels good. But good days don't last long around HOAs. Not in my neighborhood. Because at 11:13 a.m., I still remember the time, my gate creaked. Not a soft creak. A rude, bold, wide-open squeak like someone kicked it. I turned around. And there she was. Karen. HOA board member. Queen of Petty. The woman who believed grass height should reflect the soul of the community, whatever that meant. Behind her walked her whole extended family. 3 teens. 2 adults. 1 weird uncle in flip-flops. And a baby stroller even though no baby was inside, because of course. They marched right into my backyard like they were checking into a damn resort. No knocking. No text. No hey neighbor, mind if we use your pool? Nothing. Just entitlement, walking on 2 legs. Karen waved at me like I was her hotel staff. Oh hey Matt, hope you don't mind, family's in town and they really needed to cool off. Mind? Mind? I stood there gripping my coffee mug so tight my hand was shaking. I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell her this was illegal. I wanted to scream that the pool was mine, not the community's. But Karen had this way of talking. This passive-aggressive tone that made everything seem like she was doing me a favor. We'll only be an hour, she said. Which always meant 3. Her family stripped down to their swimsuits. Ran. Jumped. Splashed. Yelled. Played loud music. Ate snacks. Left crumbs everywhere. I swallowed the anger. I tried to be chill. Because every time I complained, Karen fined me for something stupid the next day. Mailbox too tall. Fence too brown. Wind chimes too sparkly. Yeah. Sparkly. That was literally on the letter. So I forced a smile. Sipped my coffee. Pretended to not hate everything happening in front of me. But then the part that broke me happened. Karen's teen son climbed onto my pool float. My brand new one. The one I bought for myself. And his shoes were still on. Shoes. On a pool float. I swear I saw stars. I walked to the edge of the pool. Not angry. Not calm. Just done. Could you guys at least not wear shoes on the float? I asked. Trying to sound human. Trying not to lose it. Karen rolled her eyes like I was a 5-year-old asking for candy. Oh relax Matt, it's just a float. Just a float. Just a float. Just a float. The words echoed in my head like I was inside a cave. Her husband grabbed a soda. Drank half. And tossed the empty can onto my grass. That was it. Something snapped. Not loud. Not dramatic. More like a quiet click inside me. A switch flipping. A fuse burning. That night, after they finally left, after I cleaned up the mess they made, the wrappers, the crumbs, the sticky patches of who knows what, I sat by the pool in the dark. The water looked calm. Too calm. Like it was mocking me. Like even the pool knew I was being walked all over. And then I remembered something. A conversation. A tiny detail. 2 weeks earlier, Karen bragged at an HOA meeting that her family had sensitive skin. Sun lotion made them itch. Chlorine made them red. Heat made them break out. And that's when a stupid, petty, tiny idea slipped into my brain. A soft idea. Harmless at first. But it grew. And grew. And grew. I whispered to myself. What if I make them stay away? Not by yelling. Not by fighting. But by letting nature do its job. I went inside. Opened my cleaning cabinet. And there it was. A red plastic bucket. The same one Karen always mocked. She once laughed and said, "Your backyard looks like a cheap motel with that thing." But inside it was my secret. Pool shock powder. Strong stuff. Safe for pools. But if you toss a lot at once, it makes the water super irritating. Not dangerous. Not harmful. Just uncomfortable enough that people don't want to swim again. I held the bucket like it was treasure. And I swear, for the first time in months, I smiled. The next morning, I waited. And of course, right on schedule. 11:15 a.m. Gate squeaks. Karen walks in. Family behind her. Like an HOA parade. I didn't speak. I didn't wave. I just watched. Quiet. Calm. Almost peaceful. They jumped in. Splashed. Yelled. Floated. Laughed. And while they were busy, I walked slowly around the pool. Bucket in hand. Pretending to check the filter. Then, when Karen's back was turned, I tilted the bucket. And let the powder fall. A soft cloud of white spread across the surface. Then sank. Then swirled around their legs. At first, nothing happened. Then the scratching started. Then the yelling. Then the panic. Karen screamed louder than anyone. Her husband kept asking if he was melting. Her nephew jumped out of the pool like a rocket. The weird uncle just stood there blinking. Red blotches spread across their arms. Chests. Necks. Pure chaos. Beautiful chaos. They ran out of the pool dripping. Red. Confused. Itching like crazy. And I just stood there. Acting innocent. What's happening? Karen yelled. I shrugged. No idea, maybe your family is allergic to being rude. She didn't laugh. She didn't even answer. They all stormed out scratching and shouting. And the best part. They never came back that week. But that was only the beginning. Because what happened the next day was worse. Way worse. And to this day, I still ask myself, would you have done the same thing if you were in my place, or would you have lost it even earlier? The next morning, I woke up expecting silence. Peace. Maybe even a small victory dance from the universe. Because after what happened yesterday, I thought Karen would finally stay away. But no. Not in my neighborhood. Not with my HOA. Not with Karen. At 8:02 a.m., 3 hours earlier than her usual attack time, I heard something strange. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Marching across my front yard like a damn SWAT team. Then came the knock. Not a normal knock. A knock that said, "We aren't asking. We're demanding." I opened the door. And there they were. Karen. Her neck still blotchy and irritated. Her hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. Her husband. Holding a clipboard like he suddenly had a job. And next to them, the HOA president. Mr. Clark. A man who believed fun was a violation of community values. A man who fined someone once for having a lively doormat. Yeah. That guy. Karen wasn't even wearing sunscreen. Which shocked me. She was the type who treated SPF like holy water. Before I could say a single word, she shoved the paper at my chest. "This is your official notice." I blinked. Notice for what? She folded her arms. For intentionally contaminating the pool and endangering community members. Community members. Community members. That word burned my ears. Her family, who barged into MY pool, were now community members. I laughed. Not a normal laugh. One of those quiet, "Are you kidding me right now" laughs. Karen glared. "This isn't funny, Matt. My whole family broke out in rashes because of your negligence. I raised a brow. Negligence? Karen, you broke into my yard. Again. Mr. Clark cleared his throat like he was about to deliver a sermon. Matt, we want to resolve this peacefully, but there are reports that you threw a chemical substance into the pool while people were inside. Reports. Yeah. Great. The snitches had activated. I stayed calm. Those chemicals are standard pool shock. They're legal. They're normal. I've used them 1,000 times. Karen stepped closer. Too close. I could smell her perfume. Cheap, floral, overwhelming. The kind of scent that felt like punishment. You used too much, she snapped. You clearly tried to hurt us. I stared at her. Really stared. And the longer I looked at her, the more it hit me. She wasn't here for justice. She was here for revenge. For control. For power. Karen wanted to own my pool. And this was her chance. She leaned in again. We want a full investigation, and a written apology, and access to your pool maintenance logs. I blinked. My what? Logs, she repeated. We demand transparency. I rubbed my forehead. You can demand whatever you want. The pool is mine. My backyard is mine. None of you had permission to be there in the first place. Her husband sneered. Well, we all know you're bad with boundaries. I laughed again. Louder this time. Me? I'm the one bad with boundaries. Karen's face turned red. Not rash red. Anger red. Mr. Clark raised his hands. Enough, both of you, this is a community issue and we will handle it properly. I crossed my arms. And by properly, you mean Karen's way, right? He didn't answer. Which basically meant yes. Then Karen slid the final dagger. If you refuse to cooperate, we'll be forced to fine you daily. Daily. Fines. Over my pool. Over their trespassing. I felt something rise in my chest. Not fear. Not shame. Pure annoyance. Because these people weren't just disrespectful. They were delusional. I stepped outside onto the porch. Looked Karen straight in her tiny, judgmental eyes. And I said one sentence. Very calm. Very slow. Get off my property. Her jaw dropped. Her husband stuttered. Mr. Clark tried to form words. Matt, this is highly inappropriate. I pointed toward the driveway. Off. Now. Karen's face twisted. You can't talk to us like that. We're the HOA. I shrugged. You're trespassing, again, and this time I'm done playing nice. She stepped back. Not because she wanted to. But because she didn't have a choice. They left. Not quietly. Not gracefully. Karen stomped like she was breaking the ground on purpose. Her husband muttered something about legal action. And Mr. Clark shook his head like I had personally disappointed the entire nation. The moment they were gone, I sat on my porch steps and breathed. Deep. Slow. Tired. I thought it was over. I thought I won. But HOAs don't give up. Especially petty ones. 2 hours later. I checked my mailbox. And of course. There it was. A bright yellow HOA violation notice. Unauthorized chemical usage in a community-adjacent area. Failure to maintain safe recreational conditions. Disturbance of neighborhood harmony. Neighborhood harmony. I swear. They must have a generator that spits out random nonsense with fancy words. But then came the worst letter. The one at the bottom. A bill. For $750. And the line that destroyed my mood instantly. Medical reimbursement for skin irritation treatment of resident guests. Resident. Guests. Guests. Karen's family. Guests. In my pool. My hands shook. Not from fear. From anger. I stormed to the backyard. Stood at the edge of the pool. Stared at the water. Clear. Clean. Perfect. My pool. My rules. My yard. My property. But the HOA was trying to take all of it from me. Just because Karen felt embarrassed. Just because her skin turned red. Just because she didn't like being told no. Later that afternoon, something even stranger happened. A teenager, one of Karen's nephews, showed up at my gate. Not angry. Not yelling. Just awkward. Shifting around. Hands in pockets. He looked at me and whispered. Hey, can we talk? It's about yesterday. I froze. Was this another trap? Was Karen spying from behind a bush? But the kid looked nervous. Genuine. Almost scared. I opened the gate. What's going on? He looked around like someone might hear him. Then leaned in. We didn't tell the truth to the HOA about what happened, and I think you should know why. My stomach dropped. I felt the tension crawl up my spine. What do you mean? I asked quietly. He swallowed hard. Karen said we had to say you threw something harmful in the pool, because she wanted to file a big complaint against you. She said it was the perfect chance to finally control your backyard. Time stopped. Everything went still. Even the breeze. The kid stood there. Looking guilty. Looking scared. And I realized. This wasn't about the rash. This wasn't about the water. This wasn't about safety. Karen had a plan. A bigger plan. One I didn't see. One I should have seen. He looked up at me. Whispered again. She said she wants to turn your pool into a community amenity, and force you to allow HOA access whenever she wants. I felt the air leave my chest. My hands went numb. My anger dropped into something darker. Colder. Karen didn't want my pool. She wanted control. Absolute control. I stared at the kid. Barely breathing. Barely thinking. And all I said was, "Why are you telling me this?" He shrugged. "She scares us too." Then he left. Quick. Nervous. Looking over his shoulder. And I stood there. Alone. In my yard. Realizing I wasn't dealing with petty anymore. This was war. Real war. HOA war. And Karen was ready to fight dirty. But she had no idea. No idea at all. How far I was willing to go now. Because once someone tries to take your property, your freedom, your peace, something changes inside you. Something sharp. Something dangerous. And now I'm wondering. If someone tried to take something from your home, would you stay calm, or would you fight back just as hard as I did? When the kid walked away, and the gate clicked shut behind him, the whole world felt different. Quieter. Heavier. More dangerous. Because now I knew the truth. Karen didn't just hate me. She wasn't just petty. She wasn't just annoying. She had a goal. A plan. A mission. To take my pool. To make it community property. To control my backyard like it was part of her little HOA kingdom. And I finally understood something. Karen wasn't fighting over rules. Or safety. Or fairness. She was fighting for power. And she wanted to win. I stood there for a long time. Just staring at the water. Thinking about how fast everything escalated. How quickly a small act of revenge turned into full-blown HOA war. But the more I thought about it, the calmer I became. Not relaxed calm. The other kind. The kind where your brain gets sharp. Focused. Cold. Ready. Because now it wasn't just about that bucket of powder. It wasn't about the rash. Or the yelling. Or the complaint letters. Now it was about defending my home. My peace. My life. So I walked back inside. Sat down at my kitchen table. Opened my laptop. And typed. How to fight HOA abuse. And damn. I wish I had searched that sooner. Hundreds of posts. Thousands of stories. People across the country dealing with the same garbage. HOAs abusing power. Board members acting like dictators. Neighbors being bullied over nonsense. And then I found something important. A line that made everything click. HOAs cannot claim private property or force shared access without unanimous consent of the homeowner. Unanimous consent of the homeowner. Which means me. Karen couldn't take anything. She couldn't turn my pool into a community amenity. She couldn't force access. She couldn't demand logs. She couldn't do anything. Unless I said yes. Which I never would. Not in a million years. But knowing the rules wasn't enough. HOAs always try to twist things. Turn neighbors into enemies. Make up new paperwork. Fake new guidelines. Use fear to win. So I needed more. Something stronger. I printed out state laws. HOA bylaws. Old newsletters. Board records. Everything I could find. The more I read, the more I realized something insane. Karen had been abusing her power for years. Small things. But constant. Illegal fines. Unauthorized inspections. Rules that didn't exist. Rules she pretended existed. Letters she wrote herself. Not from the board. Just from her. Karen was running the HOA like a personal empire. And nobody stopped her. But I was done being quiet. Done being passive. Done pretending I didn't see the signs. I grabbed a notebook. Started writing everything down. Dates. Times. Incidents. Every trespass. Every threat. Every fake violation. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was building a case. While I worked, I heard voices outside. Not yelling. Just talking. I peeked out the window. And sure enough, Karen was in my backyard again. Again. Not inside this time. But standing at my fence. Pointing at my pool. Talking to two older neighbors. Probably trying to turn them against me. Probably telling them I was dangerous. Or unstable. Or whatever story she came up with next. Her arms were waving. Her voice was loud. Her face twisted. Sharp. Mean. And the neighbors. They looked uncomfortable. But they listened. That hurt. More than I expected. Because these were people I said hello to. People who borrowed my tools. People whose garbage cans I brought in when they forgot. But that's what HOAs do. They divide. They whisper. They twist. Karen caught me watching. And she smiled. Not a friendly smile. A smile that said, I'm winning. I didn't react. Didn't move. Didn't even blink. Just closed the curtain. And took a deep breath. She wasn't going to win. Not this time. Later that afternoon, I heard the sound of metal scraping. My gate again. I walked outside fast. Ready for whatever nonsense was coming next. But this time, it wasn't Karen. It was her husband. Holding a camera. Recording my backyard. I stepped forward. What the hell are you doing? He smirked. We need documentation of the hazardous environment you created. Hazardous environment. My patience snapped like a cheap plastic fork. You're trespassing again, I said. He shrugged. HOA members are allowed to visually inspect suspected violations. That's not a law, I fired back. That's not even close to a law. But he kept filming. My pool. My yard. My house. Like he owned everything he pointed at. I grabbed my phone. Recorded him right back. He didn't like that. You can't film me, he said. Suddenly nervous. Oh, trust me, I said. I can film everything. He backed away. Fast. Like he wasn't expecting me to push back. And that's when I realized something huge. Karen was bold. Karen was loud. Karen was aggressive. But her husband. He was scared. A follower. Not a leader. She ran the show. Not him. He left without another word. And I stood there. Feeling the quiet settle over my yard again. That evening, things got even weirder. I heard rustling near my fence. Soft footsteps. Whispering. I walked outside with a flashlight. Shining it along the fence line. And there they were. Karen's teenagers. Both of them. Standing on tiptoes. Trying to peek at my pool. One of them jumped back when he saw the light. The other froze. I crossed my arms. What are you two doing? They looked at each other. Then the older one muttered. Aunt Karen said we had to check if the water was still poisonous. Poison. Now it was poison. Not powder. Not chemicals. Not irritation. Poison. I wanted to laugh. Or scream. Or both. Instead I just shook my head. You guys need to go home. Right now. They didn't argue. They ran. Fast. Like they already knew this was messed up. I watched them disappear down the street. And something inside me shifted. Karen wasn't just dangerous. She was reckless. She was dragging kids into this. She was lying to everyone. She was building a fake case against me. Piece by piece. Lie by lie. And I knew. I absolutely knew. This wasn't going to stop. Not by itself. Not by talking. Not by being reasonable. I needed a plan. A real plan. A plan that would protect me. My property. My life. A plan Karen wouldn't see coming. And as I sat by my pool that night, staring at the quiet water. I whispered to myself. If the HOA wants war, then war is what they're gonna get. But before I tell you what I did next, you gotta be honest with me. If you were in my shoes, and your neighbor tried to turn your backyard into theirs, how far would you go to stop them? War. That word echoed in my head all night. Not the loud kind with explosions. The quiet kind. The kind fought with paperwork. Lies. Rules. Fear. The kind HOAs are experts at. But I wasn't going to lose. Not to Karen. Not to her husband. Not to her fake authority. So the next morning, before the sun even finished rising, I got up, made coffee, and opened a brand new notebook. At the top of the page, I wrote one sentence in big bold letters. Control the narrative before Karen controls it. Because that's exactly what she was trying to do. Turn me into the villain. Turn herself into the concerned resident. Make the neighborhood believe she was protecting them. From me. But not anymore. This time, I was going to flip the script. Step 1, document everything. I spent hours recording videos. My fence. My gate. Every spot where Karen trespassed. The latch she broke. The powder bucket. Even the area where her husband stood filming. Then screenshots. Emails. Texts. HOA letters. Photos of Karen in my yard. Photos of the kids spying. Everything. Every piece of evidence. Every lie she told. Every time she entered my property. I was building a timeline. A story. A pattern of harassment so clear. No lawyer. No judge. No board. Could ignore it. And while I worked, I kept hearing footsteps outside. Slow. Light. Almost careful. But every time I checked, they were gone. Like someone was circling. Watching. Waiting. Step 2, talk to the real HOA board. See, here's the crazy part. Most HOAs have 3 to 5 members. But everyone in my neighborhood acted like Karen was the HOA. Like she controlled everything. Decided everything. Signed everything. But I checked the bylaws. Karen wasn't even the president. She wasn't the secretary. She wasn't the treasurer. She was literally just a board member. One vote. Not the queen. Not the ruler. Just one voice. So I emailed the board. All of them. Not just her. A professional, calm message. Explaining what happened. Including the powder incident. The trespassing. The threats. The spying. The way she used kids to gather evidence. Then I attached 74 files. Photos. Videos. Screenshots. Everything. Hit send. And waited. Step 3, make my own move. I didn't just sit around. I called the county. Asked about trespassing laws. Pool safety laws. HOA access limitations. Turns out, I had more rights than I realized. HOA members can't enter fenced private property without consent. They can't demand access to amenities that were never community amenities. And they definitely can't claim ownership over something built before the HOA even existed. My pool wasn't theirs. My yard wasn't theirs. My gate wasn't theirs. Karen had zero authority. None. Around noon, I heard a knock. Not the angry pounding Karen did. A normal knock. I opened the door. And there stood Tom. The actual HOA president. He looked stressed. Like he already knew this was bad. Really bad. Can we talk? He asked. I nodded. We sat at the table. And without saying a word, I slid the folder across to him. He opened it. His face changed instantly. Worry. Surprise. Embarrassment. Annoyance. All mixed together. He flipped through every page. Every photo. Every message. By the time he was done, he rubbed his forehead and sighed heavily. This is unacceptable, he said. She didn't tell us any of this, she said you were the problem. Of course she did. He apologized. Not once. Not twice. But over and over. He promised this would be handled. Formally. Officially. Then he said something that shocked me. You're not the only neighbor she's been targeting. My eyes widened. What? She tries to take control of everything, he said. She issues fake warnings, unauthorized inspections, fines that don't exist. So it wasn't just me. It was a pattern. A long one. That's why the board is voting next month, he added. About removing her. My jaw almost dropped. Removing her. Karen. The self-appointed HOA queen. Being kicked out. But he wasn't done. We didn't have enough evidence before, but now. He tapped my folder. This changes everything. When he left, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Relief. Small. But real. But relief doesn't last long in HOA land. Because right after Tom walked out, Karen showed up. Storming across my lawn. Red in the face. Breathing hard. Holding her phone like it was a weapon. You think you can go behind my back? She yelled. You think you can talk to the board without me? I stood calmly. Which made her even angrier. You're finished, she screamed. You hear me? Finished. I'll shut this whole property down. Then she shoved her phone in my face. On the screen was a new complaint. Filed by her. Against me. Hostile behavior toward HOA member. And maintaining unsafe structures. Unsafe structures. My fence. My pool. My deck. All marked as potentially dangerous. She was trying to get the county to force an inspection. Which would give her access. Which was her goal all along. This wasn't about safety. This wasn't about rules. This was about power. Still. I didn't react. I didn't yell. I didn't push back. I simply said, Karen, you should go home. The board knows everything now. Her face cracked. For the first time. She looked nervous. Really nervous. What did you tell them? She demanded. I smiled. Just a little. Everything. She froze. Completely still. Then whispered. You've made a huge mistake. And she walked away. Not storming. Not screaming. Slow. Steady. Cold. That scared me more than anything. Because that meant she was planning something. Something big. That night. I heard voices again. Whispers near the fence. Slow footsteps. Then silence. Then footsteps again. Someone was in my yard. I grabbed my flashlight. Opened the door slowly. And stepped outside. Nothing. Quiet. Still. But when I reached the gate, my stomach dropped. The lock was broken. Again. Not by accident. By force. And on the ground, right next to the torn latch, was a folded piece of paper. I picked it up. Opened it. And my heart stopped. Inside were printed photos of me. Taken from behind fences. From between bushes. From across the street. Someone had been watching me. Photographing me. Tracking me. And under the photos, in big red marker, it said, Stop fighting US. Us. Not her. Not Karen. Us. Meaning. More people were involved. More than I thought. More than just one crazy neighbor. This was bigger. Much bigger. And I stood there in the dark. Holding that note. Realizing the truth. Karen wasn't acting alone. But the real question was, who exactly was helping her, and why? I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that red text again. Stop fighting US. That one word, us, kept looping in my mind like a slow, steady drumbeat. Us. Not me versus Karen. Not neighbor versus neighbor. It was me versus a whole hidden group. But who? And why? What did they want so badly that they were willing to stalk me, trespass, even leave threats? My pool? My land? My silence? I didn't know yet. But by morning, I knew I needed answers. And fast. The strangest morning ever. At sunrise, I walked outside with a camera in one hand and a crowbar in the other. Not because I wanted to fight. But because after everything that happened, I didn't trust anyone. I checked the latch. Yes, broken by force. The screws bent. Metal twisted. Someone didn't accidentally bump it. No raccoon, dog, or kid could have done this. This was deliberate. Planned. Executed. I took photos, timestamped videos, and logged everything. Just like the officer told me. Just like the county advised. Because whatever this was, it wasn't normal HOA drama anymore. And as I walked around the yard, documenting every inch, I noticed something new. Footprints. Deep ones. Fresh ones. Leading from the gate. Across the grass. To the back of my house. Then stopping right under my bedroom window. Someone had been standing there. Watching me sleep. My chest tightened. I felt sweat on my hands even though the morning air was cold. This was no longer harassment. This was surveillance. And then, a car stopped. Around 8:30 a.m., a silver sedan pulled up in front of my house. But not just any car. It was the same silver sedan I'd seen parked near the pool that first day. The one that drove slowly by when Karen was screaming. The same one I saw last night near the corner when I found the note. The window rolled down. A man was driving. Late 40s. Salt and pepper hair. Dark glasses. Completely expressionless. He didn't wave. He didn't speak. He just watched me. For maybe 10 seconds, we stared at each other. Silence thick enough to cut. Then he drove off. No rush. No panic. Just calm. Controlled. Like he wanted me to know he was there. Like the message wasn't delivered through the note alone. He wanted me to see the messenger. My hands shook slightly. I recorded the license plate. Saved it. Backed it up. Filed it under. Unknown male number 1, possible collaborator. The HOA suddenly goes quiet. By noon, something else felt wrong. Very wrong. No emails. No calls. No texts from Tom, the HOA president. Nothing. Yesterday he was apologizing. Working with me. Telling me they'd handle Karen. Telling me she'd crossed the line. Today? Silence. I messaged him. Hi, just checking in. Any update? No reply. I emailed the full board. Did you receive the evidence? Please confirm. Nothing. Not even a received. Not even a we're looking into it. They vanished. Like someone had told them to back off. Or worse. Someone had scared them into backing off. And I couldn't shake the feeling that the silver sedan guy wasn't just some random neighbor. He was connected. To Karen. To the threats. Maybe even to the board. The first break in the case. Around 2 p.m., someone knocked. Not Karen. Not Tom. It was a different board member. Sharon. Short, anxious, mid-50s. She kept looking over her shoulder like she was afraid someone followed her. Can I come in? She asked quietly. I let her in, and before she even sat down, she whispered. You need to be careful. Something is going on. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? She took a deep breath. Hands shaking. Karen, she has influence. More than you think. She's not acting alone. There are people on the board who owe her favors. People she helped get elected. People who protect her. I leaned closer. And the man in the silver car? I asked. Sharon's eyes widened. You saw him? Who is he? She swallowed. That's her brother. Brother? Karen never mentioned a brother. But Sharon continued. He's not on the HOA. He doesn't even live here. But whenever Karen has a problem with a homeowner, he shows up. My voice dropped. And the photos? The note? The gate being broken? Sharon nodded slowly. He's the one who handles things. Handles things. A chilling phrase that suddenly made far too much sense. So it was a group. Not just Karen. But Karen plus the brother plus 2 board members and their spouses. A whole quiet alliance. A hidden little power circle. Just like every HOA horror story ever told. Except now I was in the middle of one. But then, the real bombshell. Sharon stood up, walked to the window, peeked outside again, then whispered. They're planning something tonight. My chest tightened. What? A vote. An emergency meeting. About your property. My pulse spiked. A vote on what? She hesitated. Then said the words that made my whole body go cold. They want to declare your pool and deck community maintainable. If they do that, the HOA can legally access your yard. Anytime. Without permission. I stared at her. You mean, they're trying to take it? She nodded. They want control of your pool. Once they classify it as a shared community structure, they can use it, regulate it, fine you over it, even restrict you from it. I felt a chill in my spine. So that's the motive. That's why they watched me. Broke the gate. Left threats. Stalked my house. Sent their fixer. They wanted my pool. Not me. Not the drama. Not the arguments. They wanted the amenity. The asset. The value. The power. And Karen, with her usual ego, wanted to be the hero. Who secured a pool for the neighborhood. But Sharon wasn't finished. They're going to vote on it at 9 p.m., she said. And if they get majority support, you're done. You'll lose the fight. My voice came out low, steady. What can I do? She looked at me, afraid, but determined. You need to beat them there. Before they vote. Before they lock the doors. Before Karen spins another lie. I stood up slowly. And what do I say? Sharon looked right into my eyes. Tell them the truth. All of it. Show the evidence. Expose the brother. Expose the threats. But you only get one shot. After tonight, there's no going back. I swallowed. 9 p.m. One battle. One room. One meeting. One chance. If I failed, the pool was theirs. Forever. But if I succeeded, Karen's whole network would crumble. But here's the thing. As Sharon left, I noticed something on her car window. A small piece of torn tape. The kind used to hold a note. The same cheap yellow tape used on the threat left at my gate. Somebody had been watching her too. But was she helping me? Or setting me up? That question stuck with me hard. And right before she drove off, she said one last thing. Whatever happens tonight, don't trust anyone sitting in that room. Then she left. Leaving me to face the truth. This wasn't a meeting. This was an ambush. I spent the whole afternoon preparing for the HOA meeting. Not because I wanted to. But because I absolutely had to. If they voted tonight. If they won. If Karen's crew pushed their community maintainable claim through. My property. My yard. My privacy. My pool. All of it would belong to the HOA. And once that happened, there'd be no coming back. No reversing. No appeals. They'd own me. So I gathered everything. Photos of the footprints. The broken latch. Screenshots of the gate camera. The note. The powder bucket footage. The messages. Even the license plate of the silver sedan. I packed it into a folder. Printed it. Copied it to a flash drive. Then I sat on my couch. And waited. Counting the hours. Counting the breaths. Counting the growing tightness in my chest. Because after tonight, someone was going to lose big. Either me. Or Karen's entire secret faction. And I had no idea which way the night would go. The walk to the ambush. At 8:42 p.m., I walked toward the clubhouse. It felt like walking into enemy territory. A quiet, dark street. Barely any lights on. Cool breeze. Sprinklers ticking on and off. Everything too calm. Too still. Like the whole neighborhood was holding its breath. The clubhouse windows were lit. Two silhouettes pacing inside. One tall. One blocky. The second one looked like Karen's brother. I felt something cold slide down my spine. This wasn't a meeting. This was a trap. A controlled environment. Run by the same people who left threats on my property. The same people who filmed me. The same people who stalked my windows at night. But I kept walking. Because I couldn't back down now. The room of eyes. When I walked inside, the whole board went silent. Not surprised. Not confused. Just silent. And staring. Like they already knew I was coming. Like they'd been waiting. Like the trap had already been set. Tom, the HOA president, sat at the center of the table. But he didn't look like the calm, apologetic man from yesterday. He looked stressed. Pale. Avoiding eye contact. Two board members sat on his right. Karen sat on his left. Arms crossed. Jaw tight. Wearing that same smug half-smile. Her brother was standing near the back wall. Hands behind his back. Watching me. Expression blank. Like a security guard. Or worse, a handler. I closed the door slowly behind me. Let's begin, Karen said before anyone else could speak. Like she was running the room. Not the president. Not the board. Her. The emergency vote. Tom cleared his throat. We, have an item on the agenda tonight, he said. A community access classification vote. He didn't say your pool. He didn't say your property. Just classification. A cold word. A clean word. A word meant to hide the truth. Karen leaned forward. This homeowner has made the pool situation unnecessarily complicated. To avoid further disputes, we're voting to classify it as a community maintainable asset. I stepped forward. That's not legal and you know it. Karen smirked. It becomes legal once we vote on it. Her brother shifted slightly behind her. Arms tightening. Eyes locked on me. Like he was waiting. Testing. Judging. Ready for something. Tom opened his mouth to speak. But Karen cut him off. Let's vote. No, I said. And the whole room froze. The document dump. I placed my folder on the table. Right in front of Tom. Firm. Loud. Intentional. This is what actually happened, I said. And it's time everyone saw it. I opened the folder. Spread out the photos. The note. The gate damage. The prints. The timestamps. The footage screenshots. Everything. Karen's eyes twitched. Her brother's chin lifted slightly. One board member swallowed hard. Another leaned back like someone pulled a wire inside him. I spoke slowly. Clearly. Your gate is broken. Someone forced it open. Someone trespassed into my yard. Someone left threats. Someone vandalized my property. And I have evidence. Karen scoffed. This proves nothing. I ignored her. Here are the footprints under my bedroom window. Tom's face dropped. And here's the silver sedan parked outside the night the message was left. Karen's brother shifted again. This time stepping deeper into the room. The slightest movement. But enough to show he recognized the car. And here, I said, sliding the photo forward, is the same car parked next to your house, Karen. Boom. Dead silence. Karen's lips parted. Her jaw tightened. Her fingers curled inward. And for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Not panic. Not surprise. Not guilt. Fear of exposure. The turning tide. Tom looked at the photos again. His voice broke slightly. Karen, is this your brother's car? She didn't answer. Her brother didn't blink. One board member whispered, "Oh my God," quietly under his breath. I pushed the last document forward. The simplest one. The clearest one. A printed copy of the HOA rules. Section 3.4. Private amenities on individually owned lots cannot be classified as community property under any circumstance. Tom stared at it. Reading. Rereading. Face draining. Hands trembling slightly. He didn't look confused anymore. He looked sick. Like he realized he'd been pulled into something bigger than HOA rules. Something orchestrated. Something wrong. Something dangerous. I stepped closer. Tom, you know exactly what this means. He nodded slowly. This time, he didn't look at Karen. He didn't look at me. He looked at her brother. And that told me everything I needed to know. He was scared too. Scared of the same man. The same power. The same quiet intimidation. That was targeting me. The breaking point. Tom's voice finally cracked open. We're not voting tonight, he said. Karen whipped her head toward him. The hell we're not. Her brother took half a step forward. Not toward me. Toward Tom. And Tom actually flinched. No, Tom said louder. More firm. Almost defiant. This isn't legal. We're ending the meeting. Karen stood up so fast her chair slid back. You don't get to end anything. But Tom snapped. A breaking point months in the making. Oh yes I do. And we're done. This is over. The room froze. Karen glared at him. Her brother stared at me. Longer. Deeper. Like he was memorizing my face. My posture. My existence. Then he quietly walked to the door. But right before he left, he said something. So low. So calm. So cold. It made my heart stop. This isn't over. Then he was gone. And the meeting crumbled right after him. The board members grabbed their things. Tom apologized again. Two people refused to look at Karen. Karen stormed out like a storm cloud. And I stood there, alone. realizing something terrifying. I didn't win. I just survived the first round. Because her brother's words kept echoing. This isn't over. They didn't want my pool. They wanted what it represented. And when they couldn't get it legally, they tried to break me emotionally. Intimidate me physically. Silence me quietly. But then Tom said the thing that changed everything. I'm not just resigning, he said softly. I'm filing a formal complaint. The game changer. I froze. A complaint with who? I asked. Tom took out a folded paper. The county attorney's office, he said. And the state HOA oversight committee. My pulse jumped. That could actually shut them down. He nodded. It could. If you're willing to give a statement. And your evidence. I didn't hesitate. Yes, I said. Absolutely. He reached out his hand. I'm sorry I didn't stop this sooner. But I'm ready to stop it now. We shook hands. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something like hope. Real hope. Because now, it wasn't just me against Karen. And her brother. And her silent supporters. It was me plus a former president. A statewide oversight body. A legal office. Real investigators. Real consequences. Karen's empire wasn't just cracking. It was collapsing. The final strike. 2 days later, something happened that I'll never forget. A black SUV pulled into Karen's driveway. Not a police car. Not a tow truck. Not animal control. A government vehicle. With badges on the jackets. Not local. State level. Karen stood on her porch screaming. Hands waving. Hair wild. Voice cracking. Her brother appeared at the door. Eyes wide. Jaw tight. No sunglasses this time. And then, the moment everything shifted, one of the investigators handed Karen a packet. Thick. Official. Stamped. A formal notice of investigation. She tried to argue. Scream. Threaten. Deny. But the investigator just pointed to the street. Ma'am, step aside. Karen moved back. Shocked. Silent. Shaking. Her brother turned toward me. Just for a moment. And I saw something I'd never seen in him before. Not anger. Not control. Not intimidation. Fear. Real fear. Because the people he could bully were no longer the ones in charge. The aftermath. By the end of the week, Karen lost her board position. 2 board members resigned. Her brother received a restraining order. The HOA was placed under temporary state supervision. I was cleared of every accusation. And my pool? Mine. Legally, permanently mine. But the biggest moment? The day I checked my mailbox and found a small handwritten note. No threats. No warnings. Just 4 words. You did the right thing. Signed. Tom. And for the first time since all of this began, I stepped into my backyard. Sat at the edge of my pool. Dipped my feet into the water. Closed my eyes. And breathed. Deep. Steady. Free. Not because the fight was easy. But because I fought it anyway. If your HOA tried to steal your property the way Karen tried, the night of the ambush meeting changed everything. Not because I won. I didn't. I just kept my pool. For now. But the moment Karen's brother said those words, "This isn't over," I knew something bigger was coming. Something quieter. Darker. More deliberate. And I was right. Because the next 3 days, the neighborhood felt off. People walked faster. Talked softer. Looked over their shoulders. Doors closed quicker. Shades stayed down. Garage doors dropped the second cars pulled in. It felt like the entire street knew something. Something unspoken. Something only whispered behind fences and blinds. And the strangest part? Not one person used their pool that week. Not a splash. Not a laugh. Not a single sprinkler on. It was like everyone was waiting. Holding their breath. Watching what would happen next. The silver sedan returns. On the 4th night, around 11:17 p.m., I heard the sound. Slow. Rolling. Deliberate. Tires on asphalt. Crunching the same way they did that night at the gate. I peeked outside. And there it was. The silver sedan. Not passing. Not turning. Not pretending. Just idling. Right in front of my house. Headlights off. Engine running. A dark silhouette in the driver's seat. Unmoving. Unbothered. Uninvited. Karen's brother. I felt a pulse hit the back of my neck. Not fear. Instinct. I grabbed my phone, opened the camera, hit record. If he wanted to stare, I'd stare back. I stepped onto my porch, slowly and visibly. He didn't leave. Didn't flinch. Didn't shift. Just watched me through the windshield. 5 seconds. 10. 20. 30. Then the car pulled away, smooth as glass. No rush. No panic. No words. Like the warning wasn't the drive. It was the silence. The next move came at dawn. At sunrise, my phone buzzed. A voicemail. No number shown. Blocked. Anonymous. I played it. Static at first. Then a deep, steady voice. Not angry. Not loud. Just calm in a way that felt wrong. You embarrassed us. Don't do it again. Then, click. No threats. No yelling. Just a statement. A statement from someone who was used to getting what he wanted. Someone who didn't need volume to be dangerous. I saved the voicemail. Backed it up. 3 times. And sent a copy to a folder labeled, "If something happens to me." Because suddenly, this wasn't an HOA problem anymore. The surprise ally. Around noon, I got an unexpected knock. It wasn't Sharon. Not the board. Not a neighbor. It was the last person I ever expected. Tom, the HOA president. He wasn't wearing his usual polo. No clipboard. No badge. No HOA smile. Just jeans, a tired face, and regret written in every wrinkle. "Can we talk?" he asked. I let him in. He closed the door behind him. And sat down like a man carrying a boulder. He rubbed his face. "I'm resigning," he said. I blinked. "What?" "I'm done. I'm stepping down from the HOA. Effective tonight." I stared at him. "But, why now?" He looked up, and for the first time, I saw the truth in his eyes. Fear. Real, raw fear. "You think you're the only one Karen's brother intimidates?" he whispered. "He's been doing this for years. To homeowners, to board members, even to the last president before me." I leaned forward. "What is he? Who is he?" Tom shook his head. "I don't know everything. But I know enough. He isn't involved for fun. He isn't involved because he cares about rules. He's involved because his sister wants control." I felt my jaw tighten. "The pool." Tom nodded. "She wanted to be the one who brought a community pool into the neighborhood. Her big power move. Her legacy project. She's been pushing it for months. When you bought your house with the pool, you ruined her plan." I sat back. So that's why they targeted me. Not for breaking rules. Not for being new. Not for the powder incident. But because I blocked Karen's political dream. Her personal empire. Her neighborhood power play. To steal mine. What would you have done?